In the past, when I've been working on my Bachmann Class 37 locomotives, there's been a few times, and sometimes now still occasionally, that these jumper cables get broken. This is partly down to my carelessness and being in too much of a hurry to get on with what I'm doing without first making sure that there aren't any of these sort of bits and pieces that need to be removed first before the body can come off. So as a result, when I've removed the body fixing screws and lifted the body off, these parts has become broken. Now what I used to do was I used to buy the Bachmann detailing packs, and I used to just replace these and just throw the old ones away. And I thought to myself, well, maybe it's possible to repair these rather than spending money all the time. You know, buying detail packs maybe is just for one of these. I thought, well, I'm going to have a look around at the bits and pieces that I've got, you know, in the bits boxes, and see if there's anything I can do to repair them. What I tried to do at first was, when the cables used to break, on mine for some reason they always used to snap in the middle here, and I tried a variety of different adhesives to try and glue them back together, the parts back together, and none of them were really very successful. I tried Loctite, I tried super glues, I tried epoxy glues, liquid poly cement, other glues. I even tried an old soldering iron and tried to melt it back together and then sand it back into shape, which didn't work. None of the glues worked, and the soldering iron idea didn't work either, not very well anyway. So I was in the model shop one day and I was having a look at some of the evergreen strip styrene products, and I bought what was called a rod and tube assortment pack. And there was a plastic bar in there which was virtually the same diameter as the plastic that's used on here on the jumper cable. So I got this home anyway, and I had to go with that and got the ends glued onto the plastic, which was a little bit fiddly. I got them on, but I couldn't seem to get the bend right, this like U bend shape on the bottom there. I just couldn't get that right with the plastic. So I thought, well, the only way to do this properly is going to be to make a new cable, but make it out of metal. So I went back to the model shop and I bought some brass bar, and this is the stuff here. Now unfortunately I don't know what size the brass bar is, because I took the jumper cable with me to the model shop and I just sort of sized it up against the brass bar, and when I found the brass bar that I needed, I just took a few lengths out the rack and took it and paid for it without noticing what size it was. So if you wanted to have a go at repairing one of these, the best thing to do is just do what I did, just take the jumper cable with you, and you can size it up with the bar to make sure that you get the right bar. Now of course, before we can repair it, we're going to need a few tools. There's not really many tools to use. It's a little bit of a time consuming job. It's not difficult to do, it just takes a little bit of time, but I think it's worth it in the end, because you can, you know, rather than have to replace, rather than have to buy a whole detailing pack just for one part, you can simply repair the part that that's broken. Another thing that might be worth mentioning as well is with these jumper cables, on mine, the little locating pegs as well, these little bits on the ends here that actually fit into this one goes into the buffer beam and this one goes into the front of the logo body. Sometimes they would get snapped off as well, and you can replace them also using exactly the same method as I'm going to show you for to replace the cable. Anyway, as I was saying, you're going to need a few tools for to do this. One of the first things you need, of course, is a craft knife. You'll need some diagonal cutters for to cut the brass wire, or something suitable to cut brass wire. We'll need a pin vise, a small file, some epoxy resin and hardener. Now I'm using the Z epoxy stuff here. This is from my radio controlled model helicopter days when I used to build and fly those. I always used to use Z epoxy. I think it's a better quality glue than Araldite in my opinion, so I've just stuck to using that. But I mean, you could use Araldite without any problems, because I mean the parts that you're going to glue is not going to be sort of carrying any weight or anything like that, so Araldite will be fine. Other thing you're going to need, 6mm drill bit. It can be a masonry drill bit or a steel drill bit, it doesn't make any difference. Some micro drills, and that's pretty much all you'll need for to do the job. So the first thing you have to do anyway is, as I said on mine, the last one that I broke, the cable snapped in the middle here. So to obviously replace the cable, you need to get rid of the old one first, so you're just left with the two orange bits. The way that you do that is just take your craft knife and just slide the end of the orange there on the cable, and just put your finger on and simply put a little bit of pressure on the modelling knife, and that will go through the plastic and cut the black plastic. And then do the same on the other side, but do it from the same side as what you've done the first one. Don't do what I did, and I spun it round like that, and I put my finger on the black there, put the modelling knife on, pressed it through, and of course you know what happened. This end here just flew off the end of the bench, and that was that. I never saw it again. So when you've cut through the old cable anyway, move that out of the way, what you'll be left with is the two little orange ends. And what we need to do with these is, before we can fit the new cable, we need to actually drill a new hole into here and a new hole into there for to accept the new cable, and that's where the micro drill bits come in. Before you do that, it's worth, if you take the file and just file over the ends there where you've cut through with a knife. Sometimes if you cut through the knife and the knife wasn't dead straight, you may get a sort of like an angled cut, and then when you come to put the pilot hole in, it makes it a little bit more difficult for to get the drill started. So if you file it, you know, it'll make sure it's nice and flat and easier to start. So anyway, what you do is get one of these very fine drill bits here. Again, I'm not sure what size this drill bit is, because the drill bit box that I've just showed you there, I managed to tip the box over without the lid on, and all the drill bits went flying, and I don't have any means of measuring the drill bits, so I don't know what drill bits went into what grooves, so I don't know what size the drill bits is. But as I say, you need to pop the drill bit into the pin vise, and then drill the holes, which there you can see I've already drilled. What I've done is I've already drilled the holes out. The reason why I did this was I thought, well, it'll save a little bit of time, and the other thing was I wasn't really sure whether I'll be able to drill the holes accurately and keep it all in focus in the camera at the same time. So I thought, well, I'll just drill the holes first, and then I'll just come back and explain, you know, exactly what I had done. So when you've drilled your pilot hole anyway, you need to put this bigger drill bit into the pin vise, and again, I'm not sure what size the drill bit is, but it's the same size diameter as the brass bar that we're going to use to make the new cable with. So again, you just drill into there, and it only needs to go in a few millimeters, doesn't need to go in very far. You don't want the drill bit coming out the end, which is what I did the first time I tried to repair one of these. I was holding it in my fingers there, and I was drilling away with the pin vise. And the drill bit came through the end and went into my finger, which was interesting to say the least, as well as being painful. So as I say, just a couple of millimeters on there and a couple of millimeters on that one as well. That's all you need for the depth. So what we'll do then is, when we've got them drilled out, we need to get the cable made. And what I normally do is I normally cut about 1.5 inches of brass wire off with a diagonal cutters. Just cut through like that, and then just snap that bit off there, and then take your little file, and then where you've cut through, just file the ends off like that. You want to be removing any burring that's on the end, otherwise it'll not go into the plastic fittings. Takes a few minutes for to do this, but obviously brass, with it not being a very hard metal, you know, it quickly starts to go down. So just give the ends a nice clean up like that, so they're nice and smooth and round. Next, take the 6mm drill bit that I showed you earlier on, put your brass wire behind it, and just bend it round to form the bend, and there's the bend there. You can see it on the brass wire there. Needs nipping in a little bit there. You can see it's still a little bit sort of splayed out. What you need to do now is you need to cut it to length. On the jumper cables, as you know, the one of the fittings sits a little bit higher than the buffer beam one, so obviously you need to cut the brass bar accordingly. And the measurements for the brass bar is from the bottom of the bend, from the outside of the U bend there, up to the top. For the longest section is 14mm, and on the shorter section it's 11mm. So if you just measure it up and cut it to size, and then it'll be ready to fit. So here's the one here that's already cut to size. We'll just move that one out of the way. And what you need to do next is just mix up a tiny little bit of epoxy glue, and just sort of get the ends, and just sort of a little dab of glue just across the hole there where you're going to put the fitting. While your glue's still wet, take your fitting and just thread it onto the end. Obviously make sure it's orientated the right way around. You can see that on there. You may need to straighten it up a little bit as the glue's drying, just to keep it facing forward properly the way it should be, and in line with the other one. And then just, as I say, get the other one. It's a little bit fiddly to do because they're very, very small parts. I'll just try and get that on. Really difficult to get on. There it is there. As I say, just put a little tiny bit of glue on, and just while the glue's starting to go hard, just get the ends lined up so they can so they'll fit back onto the logo. And just leave it for an hour or so for the glue to go off. And this is what you end up here. This is what you end up with here, rather. This is the repaired one. You can see the ends is glued on here now. You can see, I don't know if you can make out on here, but the little locating peg on the end of this one is actually being snapped off, and I've replaced that one with a piece of the brass bar that I used to make the cable with, and that's replaced in exactly the same way as the cable was. Simply drill a little hole in, cut a little bit of brass bar and just put it in with a little bit of glue, let it go off, and then it's ready for fitting back on the logo. So all you need to do with that now is just get a little bit of paint on it when the glue's gone off, and when you put it back on the logo you can't tell it apart from the other one, which I think is a really handy thing to do. As I say, it saves buying a complete detailing pack maybe just for one part, which is you know, saves a little bit of money. Anyway, I hope you found the video of some use, and I'll speak to you soon. So thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.